If you keep procrastinating, avoiding, or even sabotaging things that you know are good for you, there's probably a reason for it. And it didn't start today. It stems from when you were a kid trying to survive. Many of us bring unconscious patterns and conditioning into our adult life that we don't realize many times stems from our childhood. We think that this is just who we are. We're not really sure why we do it. And if we're not really conscious about these patterns, we don't think that there's anything wrong with what we're doing. And when we kind of go through these ebbs and flows of life, and when we are on our spiritual journey and we begin to kind of wake up, we realize that, hey, I just don't understand why I can't attract more money into my life, why all of my partners have been narcissists, how I tend to only get jobs where I'm slaving until I can't walk anymore, until I can't breathe, and many times it's really stemming from, like I said, our childhood, where we were in situations where we were just trying to survive, where we were just trying to make it so that we could get our needs met. And for me, that is something that has come up a lot of times. I grew up with very controlling family members, and there was many things that I wasn't allowed to do. I was really growing up in a household where I was told that children are to be seen and not heard. And so anytime I was just trying to live my life and live a joyous life and just be a child, I was reprimanded for that. And so now when I was growing up and I lived that life with having these drug addict parents, I came in and I realized that I was a people pleaser for a long time. I was seen, but I was not heard, right? Many people would just kind of come in and really walk all over me, and I completely allowed that. I really brought in a lot of misery into my life because I was trying so hard to people please. I was trying to make sure everybody was happy. I was really trying to make sure that their needs were met before my own. And I had absolutely no boundaries when it came to that. And I'm going to be honest, that unconscious pattern went on most of my adult life, really into my 20s. It wasn't until my later 20s that I fully stepped into empowering myself more, doing some work on myself, knowing what my path truly was, and being able to stand up for myself and know who I truly am at the end of the day, and many times when we do these unconscious patterns, there is some sort of benefit to that. On a deep level, there is some benefit to why we act out these unconscious patterns. So, for example, later in my life, I was not even later, when I turned 18 and I went off to college, I actually became really rebellious. I did a lot of things. I was partying, I was drinking, I was doing drugs, I was being very promiscuous. I was doing crazy off the wall things because I was so controlled, and I was told to just sit in the background, that I became entangled in many different groups, and it really showed up to be something that was not good for me in my life. I think I learned a lot during that time, especially in my 20s, in my earlier 20s, don't we all, where I really have learned a lot of life lessons. But and to be honest, it was really a rebellious act, right? I was acting out these things. And so then we get through that phase, right? And into my adult life, I'm a self-sabotager. Anything that kind of gets good thrown into my life, I kind of find a way to sabotage it. I will push away great opportunities. I will push away people in my life because of this unconscious pattern that I have from being a child. And it's really interesting when you kind of look at it from a higher perspective, right? Like you're looking down on the situation now, and without getting too caught up in story, because part of you is also letting go of the old stuff that has made you do these unconscious patterns for years, right? And so for me, it was like I was controlled, I was rebellious, and then, rebellious, but a self sabotager at the same time, right? Like you can look back at that and say, yeah, I really self sabotaged that situation. And that could be very similar to you. And so, what for you has kind of come up that you can kind of recognize, right? Did you have a controlling household? Did you have a household where you were completely ignored and many needs were not met? What for you is the situation that keeps popping up, right? And really then what you can ask yourself is, what are you getting from this pattern? Because I'm going to be honest, up until recently, and even every once in a while, these self-sabotaging aspects come up, right? um Another really good example for me is that when something happens and I self sabotage, I will actually go into hiding because I'm so embarrassed that I let myself down, right? And it kind of goes back to that unconscious pattern of letting the parent down. I wasn't a good daughter. I wasn't a good friend. I wasn't a good mother. You know what I mean? And we can see these patterns come up. And so I would go into hiding, and it was really hard for me to break that pattern. I'm going to be completely honest. And maybe you've gone through that as well. And another good example of really kind of self sabotage would be, you are trying to lose weight, but yet every chance you can, you're going to eat the cookies, your friend invites you out for dinner, you're going to go do that, right? And with losing weight, I mean, obviously you want to enjoy your life, but in ways that can be self-sabotaging as well. Um, we go into these relationships where we can self-sabotage, right? Like, and then what benefit do you get out of it? Are you like to the universe or into your reality? See, I only pick narcissist ex partners. See, that's that every time I get money, this comes up. You see, I am just a victim of my reality. I'm a victim of these circumstances. I am the story that I've been telling myself for years and years and years and years. And so when we can look at that and realize that and be able to then say, okay, how can I now break this pattern? Okay. Because you recognized it, you realized where it came from somewhere in your childhood, and now you have the option to now break it, because now you recognize that. And so that's part of being awakened on this planet, is that you are the person that's going to break these old patterns. You're the person that's going to break these things in your family line, things that came from past lives, and things that have been on earth for many lifetimes and in thousands of years. And now you can break that. Now you can kind of move through that. And so you're going to start seeing these patterns start coming up. And you're going to make the decision of how you are going to proceed going forward, because you can always fall back into the old unconscious pattern and say, you know what, that's just who I am. Or you can look at that and say, you know what, this stops with me. And how am I going to go about it? So, like, I was mentioning the self-sabotage, right? Where I would go into hiding. Now I don't hide anymore. When I do that, I am accountable for it. I contact somebody that I'm close to. I reach out. I am honest about it. Okay, so you need to kind of realize, okay, I see it kind of coming up. What am I going to do about that? And I think I'll make another video about that, about like when we feel it kind of coming up, because I've definitely other examples in my life that might be able to help you with that. And if it really helps you, I would also afterwards be able to ground myself in nature. If you can't do that, take an Epsom salt bath, and really we're going to clear that energy off of us because it no longer serves us. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bring in new energy. So we're going to bring in not even a new pattern, because we don't want to do that. We're breaking patterns, but we're going to bring in a new conscious thought of, okay, this is what I'm going to do kind of going forward, and how I'm going to move into that going forward. So if you found this video to be helpful, like the video, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.